Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I am proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So, there's been this thing in my head that I've been wanting to debunk psychics, okay? But now, astrology is a different thing. I'm not so much against astrology, but what I'm against is the actual astrologer human being. Because the human being is just using the knowledge in which they have and the information of which they have in order to decipher their astrology charts, right? And so it's like, okay, I've never studied astrology, but I think it's definitely fun and it's entertaining. I totally give that, and there's things about it that are cool and stuff. And so I pulled up like a video. At first I was looking at psychics because there was a psychic reading on Michael Jackson. But see, what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to prove is that I don't believe any psychic has ever claimed that Michael Jackson's real parents are Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. I don't believe that's ever come out of the mouth of a psychic, all right? And it's like, okay, so what I'm saying is that my power is in the power of perception and understanding of truth and reality is more powerful than whatever that ability is of the psychic ability, because I was the one who was actually able to say Michael Jackson's real parents are Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson, and I can prove it through actual investigation and hardcore facts, and this is how it is, and I can explain it because I can read people. I understand human existence. I believe in God and the consciousness of what we're all a part of and stuff, right? So I believe in all that stuff. And so what I'm trying to say is, like, yeah, maybe psychics do have some ability, but none of them ever were able to use that ability to say your parents are Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. That never happened. So to me, that discredits the psychic's ability, because the actual ability comes into it's the evaluation and the interpretation of what you're seeing. That's where the real ability's at. And that's what I do. Okay? So whose ability is better? Maybe they have a vision. Okay? But if their vision is clouded with wrong interpretations, then what is it? Right? You still have to interpret what you're seeing. That's how everything goes. I have the ability to interpret things properly. I see truth. I see things that people just don't see. Right? And so the other thing here is then this, okay, so I was going to watch a video of a psychic reading of Michael, but then there was a recommendation of this video that was there. And so this is kind of how God works in mysterious ways, right? And it's like, I went to look for one thing and God led me to another thing. Right? And I totally believe in that's how things work and stuff, right? So it's like, now, and this is why I get so mad at people and stuff, right? Because now I come to this guy's page. This guy's name is Big E Astrology. Now, this is the first time I ever come across his page. And I actually did not watch this entire video, but I watched it enough where I was like, oh man, because this is what happens with me with my Michael Jackson story. It's like, it just gets too deep, too fast. All of a sudden, I'm going down a rabbit hole, and there's just all these other things that I'm seeing and stuff while I'm going down there, and it just gets out of hand really quick. It gets big, and so what I've had to learn to do is, what I'm trying to do is just focus on one little thing and just expose that and put the information out there. So I have established some form of a foundation of this kind of investigation and my explaining of the story and stuff, right? So now, the guy that's doing this, he's currently still working. Because sometimes when I go into videos, you'll go to their video list and it's like, oh, they haven't made a video in 4 years. Okay, then I feel safe. It's like, okay, if they haven't made a video in 4 years, I can use whatever I want from their video, right? I'll just use it all. But when they're actually actively doing this, and it appears that this is his actual job, what I find is that when I get into stuff like this, these people, they're more protective of their brand and their image than they are of dealing with the truth. And then this is where I get this it's sad. It's this really sad experience that I get. It's like, because this guy was talking about like God, and I think he might talk a little bit about that right here in the beginning, talk about God, wisdom, and seeing the truth and stuff. And it's like, dude, okay, well, God works in mysterious ways. Now, God, obviously, I'm here, so God has led me to you and to your page and to hearing this. And it's so that I can enlighten you with the truth, so that you can properly read this chart. And I put a comment down his page. haven't got a response to it yet. And it's like, I'm not going to go hounding the people. I have a limited time, and so I have to make the videos as quick as I can. That's what I've learned that I can do. I can put my camera on, I can make a quick little video, and I don't try and do anything with the details. I just copy and paste stuff, and I just make my video and put it out. I don't do anything to try and trick the algorithms to get better views. I just don't even do any of that stuff. Like, my page is monetized, but my page has been monetized for over 2 years. I have never received a check from YouTube. You know, I don't monetize my pages. All my videos, I just don't even worry about it, because so much of the times I do use other people's copyrighted material, so it's just like, I'm just not even going to bother with it, you know? So it's like, look, I've had a monetized page in over 2 years. I've never received a check from YouTube. I think I have like $30 or $40. I have checked a while back and stuff. I think there is like $30 or $40 there, but that's it. That's all that's there. Right? So it's like, why would I even bother with that to try and get that check? Or why am I going to go through the hassle of having to deal with that for a $40 check? It's just not even worth it and stuff. So, and then like I said, I haven't monetized a video in probably like a year. I just don't even do it. I don't even bother with it. I click it no. I don't want to screw it. So I don't even do any of that stuff, right? But that's where I get where these people who are like this, who are YouTubers, and they're always monetized, they're always worried about their monetization and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, I don't even do any of that stuff. Right? And I'm shouting your name out. I'll give you all the credit. Your chart to me looked really cool. I actually think that there is truth in this stuff. And but your interpretation, I can't say nice. I don't know how to say in a nice way that the Big E Astrology, that your interpretation of this chart, I don't know how to say it in a nice way. It's terrible. How do you say that in a nice way? It's completely wrong, because your foundation of your facts of what you think about Michael Jackson is completely wrong. You're totally wrong. You don't understand. Michael Jackson is the love child of 14-year-old Diana Ross and her first love, Smokey Robinson. They had to abandon Michael because it was happening at the same time Motown was being developed with Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson. You see, Michael Jackson's birthday correlates with the development of Motown. That's what actually happened. As Smokey Robinson was building the record company with Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson, as they're building Motown, Diana Ross is right there, and she has sex with Smokey and gets pregnant. And then they got to get rid of that kid. They can't deal with, if Berry Gordy's trying to build a record company around Smokey, can't you see that it's an issue that Diana Ross being a 14-year-old girl in the neighborhood and Smokey having a kid from her? That's a scandal that can destroy and I know this Big E Astrology, you're a black man, and you're older too. So think about the environment and the culture of what would have been taking place, and what the scandal that could have destroyed them instantly if that kind of scandal breaks out with a kid from a 14-year-old and the girl in the neighborhood. That can completely destroy everything. And gotta understand, they're not Motown yet. They haven't made it rich. They don't know. They haven't had to deal with the media and all the stuff. They're not like media savvy, like how Berry Gordy, and 10 years later, he's going to have all those experiences, and he's going to be much more savvy businessman and much more savvy at media detail, which you can see when he gets the Jackson 5 and how they did all that stuff. You can see now he knows exactly what he's doing. He's got all that knowledge and that experience and stuff, right? And they're not worried about this because it's covered up, and they know how to lie to the media. And you just put the Jackson family from Gary, Indiana, you sell them the lie. And that's what they did. And everybody bought it, because why wouldn't we buy it? Because we know Michael was raised in that house. Why wouldn't we? And they're all playing, they look similar because they're all playing music instruments, singing and dancing, but when you actually look at them, it's like, no, they don't look alike. And clearly Michael's a standout talent far above and beyond way what the Jacksons are. Michael gets his talents from his real parents, Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson, right? So let me just show you. I would want to show you more, and I'd like to actually go through this whole thing, but like I said, I can't do that because if I use these people's videos, a lot of times they get mad at me because they're like I said, they're not real who they appear to be. What they end up being is they end up being protective of their brand. And this is the thing, is like, I don't know how this guy is, how he's going to respond. So I'll just do a little piece right in the beginning, and it's like, if he complains about this, it's like, man, you're talking about somebody that's got to be evil. Because it's actually fair use. There's no doubt about what I'm doing here is technically legal through the fair use laws. There's no doubt about that, right? What I'm going to show you here, right? But these people still can complain, and they can do stuff, and they cause me problems, and that's what they've done to me and stuff, right? So I've learned to not trust any of these people and stuff, right? So I'm just going to show you a very little piece here right at the beginning. And And so here, now like I said, he made this chart having no knowledge of who Michael Jackson actually is, that Michael Jackson's the child of Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. He doesn't know the story that Michael's an abandoned child. He doesn't know anything about that, right? So he's just reading the chart and so that's why I'm surprised that he even says these words, because it's totally contradictive to the story of what he knows and what he keeps telling, and the way he deciphers the chart is because he believes all the story that everybody believes, right? And you'll see it because when he says here about the shape-shifting thing, he instantly refers it to Thriller. So he's using the knowledge of what he has to, try and explain the chart of what he's reading. But if you don't have the proper knowledge, then how can you give a proper reading of the chart? That's what I'm trying to say. So that's what I'm saying, is that this guy has no knowledge of my story. But you'll see how instantly, this is right when he first starts. The first thing he goes to is Michael lost his mother when he was young. But then he says, but we all know that that's not true. But that's what he says. The first thing he says, Michael, it looks like this is saying he lost his mother when he's young. That's what it says. And it's like, well, it was right there. So that's what's like, this is the kind of stuff that when I hear him talking, it's like, whoa, jeez, you're reading it wrong. Maybe the chart is right. Maybe there is something there, but you're reading it wrong. Okay, so here, let me just play a little bit of this for you.
And just ask for God to give me the wisdom and intuitive knowledge to read this chart for Michael Jackson, who I'm a huge fan of, but I'm going to be truthful and honest, okay? So you have the Pisces moon on the ascendant. I've seen often in charts where people can lose their mother at an early age. Obviously, that's not the case with Michael. But the Pisces...
Okay, see how he says, the first thing he says, he's saying something about, I've seen charts where they lose their mother at a young age. The first thing that he says, the first thing that he analyzes when he's saying that, he's saying something about that chart, because like I said, I don't know anything about astrology, but in his IESP, he does know. I'm not saying he doesn't know astrology charts. Yes, he does know a lot about that stuff, right? What I'm saying is that his facts that he has about Michael Jackson are wrong, and because of that, he can't read the chart properly because he just saw something, but he couldn't analyze it properly because, like he said, he says, I've seen this with people that, I'm going to play it again because it's like, what did he just say? I mean, how he says, though, he says he's seen it with children, they've lost their mother at a young age, but then he rejects that because he says, well, we know that's not true. No, that is what's true. That is what happened. So I'm like, how did this happen? This is the kind of stuff that I'm like, what is this? Why has this happened like this, right? And so let's listen to that again, that little part there, because it's like so interesting. Let's listen.
But I'm going to be truthful and honest, okay? So you have the Pisces moon on the ascendant. I've seen often in charts where people can lose their mother at an early age. Obviously, that's not the case with Michael. But
doesn't that just blow you away? Like, to me, I'm just like, what? And see, that's what I'm saying. Is like, he read the chart, and the chart had a reading in it that Michael Jackson lost his mother at a young age. That's what he read in the chart, but he had no understanding of it because he instantly denies it and says, but we know that's not true. No, that's what it was. Michael was abandoned as a child. And the chart, and then it's got that moon there. It's like, I'm sure that Michael has had to do some experience with this stuff. I don't know. But it's just weird. Right? And I'm sure that there's a lot more, because this is how my story goes, that there's always a lot more to the reading and the understanding of what's there when you actually understand the story. Like when you have my knowledge, it's like if I had my knowledge and I had this guy's knowledge, we probably could read this chart in it could come out incredible. Right? But it's one of those things, it's like, yeah, maybe this guy would like to have me on his show and we could do a dual reading where he could read it and I can explain to him the information, the truth, right? But it's like, that's the thing why what is hindering my story is that I don't have the ability to do that. I literally don't have the ability. I'm hunkered down with my real life and what it's doing, and it's so hard, and it's so mentally and stressful in the environment of what I do that I can only allow myself to do certain things, because like that's what I'm saying, you people don't understand how stressful my environment, my real world, how difficult it is, and it's so difficult, I can only allow myself to do so much, and I come in and I try and do my best, and I do what I do, but I can't worry about like that I'm not out there, my face isn't out there, and I'm not out there being on shows and I can't even worry about any of that stuff. All I can do is do my investigation and make some videos, and that's what I can do, and that's what I do. That's all I can do, right? So here, he keeps talking about this. Let's listen just a little bit more, because there's a lot more to this stuff. I watched like the first 10 minutes, and it was like there was a lot to it. It was like this stuff was coming out pretty interesting, right? Because I can hear the true story, but I can hear what he's saying, but you know, he misinterprets everything and stuff, right? But here, let's listen a little bit more.
Pisces moon is super psychic, intuitive. This literally is Michael Jackson being a shapeshifter, right? Morphing in Thriller.
Okay, so he says he says this is literally Michael Jackson being a shapeshifter, but he analyzes that as the morphine and the Thriller. Now that it's the Thriller, and it's also the Billie Jean. Actually, it's the cat by the trash can. That's where actually but the Billie Jean is where it's at, and it's the cat. It's the cat that transitions from the cat into the tiger by the trash can. And I've heard the director saying that's what that was actually about, and that's what it represented. That it represented something like, and that's where it's really at. Where I would look at more, but what it is like when you talk about like being like a shapeshifter. Yes, he was born to Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. He was given away. The lie became the truth, and now he's a Jackson. See, that's what when I see the shape shifting, the transition that has occurred, that's what I see. And because this is what he's talking, the guy's only been talking for 30 seconds. Look at what he instantly says. Michael Jackson lost his mother. It looks like he lost his mother at an early age. It looks like he's some kind of shapeshifter. Instantly, this is what I'm saying. Is like, yeah, maybe there is something to this chart, but he's reading it wrong because he doesn't have the actual facts of who Michael Jackson actually was, right? So I just wanted to get this video out really quick just to show you. It's like, and like I said, there's a lot more here, and I would go through it and do more because I could, but it's like a 50-minute, this video is 58 minutes, okay? So that's the thing. In order for me to watch the video, and you got to understand is that I don't understand the astrology, so it's technically, there's some parts that are confusing, like all the thing, like he talks a lot about Aries, and it's like, okay, I'm Aries, okay, so I know Aries and stuff, right? But then the other months and stuff, and I don't know, like when it says like Virgo and stuff, I don't know exactly what months those are, right? Or Pisces. I know that those are the astrological signs and stuff, but I don't know which months they actually apply to, because what I would want to do is like, then I would need to know that, because then it's like, okay, well, let's look at Diana's birthday and let's look at Smokey's birthday, and then when they're in these months and stuff, how is it applying to that stuff in relation to his real parents' birthdays and stuff, right? So that's the kind of stuff I'd have to do, and it's like I said, I'm kind of out of my league, so for me to interpret this stuff, I'm not into astrology, I don't know all this stuff, right? But this guy does. So it's like one of these things, this guy has this knowledge, and I have my knowledge, you know, and so separate, we have our own thing, we do our own thing. But if you could combine them, then you could see that maybe something really good could come of it, right? But it's going to be difficult for us to get our knowledges together and stuff, right? And that's the real world of how we live in and stuff, right? Always more knowledge to find, always more experiences to have, right? God is has so much more knowledge and wisdom and experience than any of us could even fathom. We can't even comprehend how fucking wise and how much knowledge. That's like, we can't even really comprehend it. We can just barely dabble in it and stuff, right? So there's always a thing where, like me, is my strength as a human being is my understanding of how dumb I am. That's what one of the things that I say to the people is that if you ask people about like, why are you smart, you know? And then they'll say, well, I did this and I did this. And it's like, no, that's what makes you dumb. Because what makes you smart is your understanding of the larger context in this, the spiritual realm that you're actually a part of, and your true origins. And then through that true origins in your spiritual realm is you start off with understanding how little you actually know. And you just advance slowly. You take your baby steps and you take small advancements, but you understand the context of the actual spirit world and the consciousness that's actually out there. The world is so much more advanced. That we live 100 years in this existence, and you got to compare it to like 100 years to 5 billion years, or maybe God is 50 billion years old. Like, that's what I'm saying. There is no comparison. to what you can learn in our 100 years compared to what God has learned in 50 billion years? You know, it's like somebody, like, can you understand the difference between somebody who's got $100 in their pocket and somebody that's got $50 billion in their bank account, right? They're nowhere in the same world financially. And the person that's got $100 cannot even fathom and understand. You can't understand what it's like for that person with 50 billion to understand what it means to have that kind of money, what experiences and all the people that have to work for them and how they have to manage everything, and they're always trying to be ripped off and all the power and influence. It's difficult. You couldn't do that. These people that are poor and uneducated, you couldn't just give them $50 billion. They would have no idea what to do with it. No idea. And that's the same thing as like God. I don't have the mind of God like that. God's old. He's got a mind that's been around forever and stuff, right? So your understanding of your first understanding of your wisdom and stuff has to come through your understanding of how little you actually know, because then you constantly are evaluating. You don't take things and say this, like how this guy is talking about Michael Jackson, how he thinks he knows all that knowledge. No, that's not how that's wrong. He's got it all wrong. And when you keep thinking that you know things, you're constantly going to be wrong. You have to always be open and understanding that you don't know everything. And that's where you become wisdom, because then you're constantly evaluating. You're not judging things based off of the experiences that you've had. Like just one simple little thing to show you this. Okay, I grew up in Los Angeles. So if I talk about Los Angeles and I'll say like I went to the liquor store, right? And so I'm talking about being a kid. I was always in the liquor stores, right? And so the liquor store would be like a convenience store. And like there's another good example. It's like in Los Angeles, in the old days you would drive down the street and it would say drugs, liquor, guns. Like you would see those signs, drugs, liquor, guns. That's the way it was, okay? So the drug stores turned into pharmacies. Okay, because you don't see drugs anymore. It's like there used to be a store like called Save On Drugs. Save On was a big in California. Save On Drugs, right? But now it would be Save On Pharmacy. They wouldn't call it. So like all the CVS Pharmacy, that would have been called CVS Drugs back in the day, right? They were all drugs. And so things transition and stuff. But like the liquor store, now we would call that a convenience store, right? But in LA, they're all just these little mom and pop liquor stores, but they're convenience stores, but they sell liquor, what they were called were liquor stores, and so they always said liquor. So when I was a kid, if I wanted some candy, I went to the liquor store. If I was a kid and I wanted some soda and chips, I went to the liquor store, right? But I didn't understand that was odd until like I went to Mexico. When I went down to Mexico and there was a liquor store. I wanted a Pepsi, right? Or something like that. And so I seen liquor store. I go into the liquor store. They didn't even have Pepsi. I couldn't even buy a Pepsi in the liquor store. All they had was liquor, right? And so I was like, oh, liquor. Okay, that makes sense. It's a liquor store, right? And then I went to Oklahoma, right? Because I thought, well, maybe that's just a Mexico thing, right? And then I went to Oklahoma and there was a liquor store, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go in there and get some candy or something, right? And then I go in there, and it's just a huge store of liquor. They didn't have no candy in there and shit. And I'm like, oh, liquor store. So, like, when you go to a place like that, if you tell a local person, hey, you know where there's a liquor store at? And I'm thinking I want to go buy some candy or something, I'd be like, where's the liquor store? And then they tell you, and it's like, well, they sent me to a liquor store. All there's liquor there. There's no candy in there and stuff. So there's little things like that that's like little details that are just because of your environment. There's things that are wrong and how you'll think about it and stuff, not knowing that the culture over here sees it in a different way. And so you always got to be open and aware to that's the environment and the world of which we live in. And just because you take something and you think it's so normal and you think that everybody should know this, it's not that way at all. Like I had a lady one time, I was at the casino in Nevada, and this lady comes over, she's from New York City, and she says, can you put on the Yankees game? And I said, well, we don't have access to it, because at that time we didn't have all the channels at the casino I worked at. We didn't have like every game and stuff. We didn't have the full package. We only had whatever the local cable stuff was running. That's what we had access to. And then so I said, oh, we don't have access to that. And she's like, no, it's on the regular TV. It's on just the regular TV. But she didn't know that's like, okay, like if you have Fox in Manhattan, that's not the same Fox that's in Vegas. It's a different Fox network. Fox has national programming, then they have local programming. Like, you got to learn that stuff, right? So, and she's like telling me, no, it's on normal TV. It's on normal TV. And I'm like, it's like, how do you explain to her? It's like, I'm there working. Now I've got to explain to her how the whole system works, that's local television. And it's not national television. That's on the local TV. And so how do you explain that stuff to these people? It's tricky and stuff, right? And you go, but that's the kind of stuff. And she's like kind of yelling at me saying, it's on local TV. It's on local TV. I'm like, you're in Nevada. That's local in New York. You're in Nevada now. It's not local here and shit, right? So that's the kind of stuff that you got to deal with. And people are like that. And people, like I said, they're always misinterpreting things because they're equating the knowledge that they have and assuming that everybody else thinks the same way they do. It's just not like that, you know? So you always got to be open-minded. Like I said, you always got to be understanding that you don't know everything. And that's how you know when you're smart, you understand that you don't know everything. That your personal experiences don't transition to everybody else, and they doesn't need to. Everybody doesn't need to think the same way you do. We don't want things to be like that way. I don't want everybody to look the same. I don't want them to talk the same. I love that people have accents. I love that you can get a guy from like China that grew up in the South and he speaks with this total Southern slang, but he's Chinese. It's hilarious. I think that is funny as fuck. I think that's cool as hell because he'd be like, okay, well, he's obviously got Chinese blood in him, but damn, he speaks like a freaking Southern country boy. I think that shit's so funny. I think that's one of the coolest things I really like about America is you'll have all these cultures, but when they come to America, then they're American. They're totally American. You can tell the difference. I don't see any of the culture, like when I see people, like I don't see them as Chinese. I'm like, okay, you've got Chinese ancestry, but you're clearly a fucking American because you speak American. You obviously have been influenced by American society. You're an American. Right? So I love all that stuff. I like how it's like that. And that's one of the things about America that's so cool is we get to see all these people from all around the world. We get exposed to all these different cultures and stuff, right? Because they've still got their culture too. But they're Americanized, but then they also still like, because a lot of them, was like a lot of children, their parents actually were immigrants, so they totally have the culture of their ancestors or where they come from. But then, so the children are total American, but then they're living in an environment with a different culture. So when you get to go hang out with those people, you get to learn about their culture and this other stuff. I love that shit. I think it's cool as fuck, right? So it's just like, okay, that's enough for this, you know. It's funny how I make these videos. It's like that one little thing that's the Michael Jackson stuff, but it turns into like all this other stuff. I can always keep going, rambling and talking, giving it my impressions and interpretations of everything and stuff, right? But I just thought it was amazing. The first thing the dude walks up to the chart and says, oh, Michael Jackson looks like he should have lost his mother at a young age. The first thing he says... The first thing that the chart tells him is that Michael Jackson lost his mother at a young age. That's the first thing the chart says. And then it says he's got some kind of shape-shifting thing. Yeah, because he wasn't, his real parents, he wasn't raised with them. He's shape-shifted and he's a Jackson now. It's like, that shit's like, what the hell? Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.